The Türkiye-Syria earthquake death toll continues to climb at an alarming rate also. It has risen past the 24,000 mark. South African volunteers are on the ground as rescuers search for survivors buried in the rubble. The 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck the two countries Monday morning has caused untold misery and destruction. How mammoth a task is this for the rescuers? Well, we're going to be discussing it with eNCA of Rescue South Africa, but also joining our conversation is our senior reporter, Desin, who is in Antakya in Turkey. A very good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm going to start with you, Desin. You are at a place now where there could potentially be some more people that are said to be brought from under the rubble. Whether or not they're alive, we do not know, yes?
That's right, Morena. In fact, we're standing outside what used to be an apartment block. I'll show you. Just behind me, there are some people gathered outside, just behind the cordon tape. Remember, this is an extremely dangerous area for anyone to be considering the integrity of the buildings, even the ones surrounding that block that we're showing you now. There's heavy machinery that's being used there to move some of the bigger pieces. But I think most concerning is that while we were driving through and we were with some of the search and rescue members from Oman, as well as our SAPS members with their canines and the Gift of the Givers team members that were with us. So as we were going through, we were stopped in several places. And at that last stop, we were told that there is this apartment block, and this is where they estimate that hundreds of people may be crushed to death because they were in this 12-story building at the time of the earthquake, and since then they haven't been able to retrieve anyone, haven't been able to recover anyone, and right now that is a mammoth task that is facing those that are working in this area. And you know, as a form of contrast, and I really hope that the signal plays its part as I try to show you this, directly next door to this site where they are working, there seems to be a distribution point that has been set up. This is where those that have been displaced from around the area are then able to collect a few items. There's food, there's medication, there's food for babies, there's clothing, obviously here. I think I'll also use this opportunity just to get around the side so you get a better sense of what that destruction looks like. Ma'am, if I could just, thank you so much. If I could just get past you here. You can come this way. This is actually the site that you're seeing now where they are working. The SAPS canines have gone in here. We were told that they would be in there for about 20 minutes. It's the scale of this is just unbelievable, and I think at times when we were driving through, it was just hard to believe that all of this happened simultaneously. Most of this town, as we've been driving through, we've seen is absolutely destroyed. Right now they're asking us to be quiet because they are trying to listen out for any survivors. I think I'll pause there, Morena.
All right. We will leave it there with you, Desin, of course, as you're trying to respect, of course, the processes that are happening there, because as Desin had mentioned, there could potentially be hundreds of people in that particular area there right now where rescue operations are continuing, where SAPS K9 are also doing their job because they too are on the job at the moment. So we'll leave it with Desin there. But I want to go now to Ian Scher from Rescue SA. Ian, for the last week now, for the last 6 days, 5-6 days, you would have witnessed one of the worst disasters that the world has ever seen, one of the worst disasters Turkey has gone through in almost the last century. From a rescue point of view, looking at the visuals that, I don't know if you were able to see them right now, but the visuals that you would have seen from a rescue operation point of view this last week, how difficult is it to be combing through looking for bodies, be it alive or dead, when the rubble is in the positions that we are seeing it in right now?
Good afternoon, and thanks for the opportunity. I can see, and from what I've seen during the course of the week, that it's extremely difficult conditions. Firstly, it was really difficult for not just the South African team to get to the site, but all the other rescue teams have struggled for most of this week to get on site because of severe traffic that was trying to work its way towards the site. and the type of structures that are there, and the way the building has fallen with that pancake effect, it's extremely difficult. Have been a lot of people already rescued from that were likely entrapped, but the more challenging work is now going to start when the deeply trapped people are being brought out, and will be the odd miracle that where people still will be taken out alive, but the chances are growing slimmer and slimmer, and it's going to be a very painstaking job to get out the remains of people who've deceased.
I imagine there needs to be some kind of sensitivity, Ian, in combing through the rubble and essentially making sure that whatever structures that are still, although sensitive and could still come down, but whatever structures are still standing, that you want to make sure you do not disturb them, because it could hinder your work as well in trying to get to those that are deeply affected and are trapped quite deeper than what we've seen throughout the week. So how then do you navigate that kind of situation, ensuring that you don't disturb the structures that are still standing but are weak, and that you are able to still get right down to the very bottom of the rubble and find, either dead or alive, the bodies that are there?
Well, we have a saying in emergency services that structures that stand still like that but are so insecure, they call them widow makers, and not for no reason. So it's extremely dangerous work. What the rescue teams that have been trained to do this type of work use shoring techniques and techniques to try and create safe working areas where they can move in and try and do rescue. So what happens is, first that you hope that the dogs will give you a pointer where there is the possibility that there is a victim, and then you have to work. You can see the dogs in the background of what I'm looking at and what the viewers are looking at, and the dog will then spot for you, and then the rescuers, once the dog is spotted in that position marked, and the specially trained rescuers will then, as carefully as possible, try to shore up that area and try and retrieve either a live victim or the body, the remains of the victim.
You're working with some heavy machinery here in trying to comb through and surf through and sift through all this rubble. What kind of attention, precaution, sensitivity do you give to, if you're using a crane, that you could potentially be coming up with a body, that you could be hooking a body to that crane? Are those the kinds of things that the rescue workers think about? Or is it a matter of, if I'm coming up with a body sitting in the crane, at least I'm coming up with the body?
Well, normally from the 10 to 14, 15 days, the incident commander will make decisions as to the first part of what the work is to look for live victims, and that's the search and rescue and recovery stage. Thereafter, the incident commander will then say, we're now into recovery, and 90% or 100% of the people that we're going to get out now are the mortal remains. And only then, to the places that I've been in the world, then would you bring in this heavy lifting equipment and the cranes and so on. So seeing them already on site is, for me, a bit early, because, there's not that many days that have gone by. But absolutely, it is a possibility that a crane or anything could lift and damage a body that you're trying to get out. That is a real possibility. And because, like with all communities, protecting the integrity of the body is a vital part of what we do, and finding the mortal remains and handing them over to the families is an extremely important part of what the rescuers also have to do. So once you can't find any more live victims, the body recovery part of it becomes just as important for the families, so that they can get the closure that they require.
When you're sitting in the comfort of your home in South Africa and you're looking at the scenes of what's happening in Turkey and Syria, you could be one that makes the area of thinking, I mean, go out there and rescue these people, get these people back to their families, but you don't understand just the difficulties and the intricacies of rescue work, especially when you're dealing with a situation like what we're seeing now, where 24,000 lives have been lost and hundreds more that still need to be found. So I think to South Africans out there, you need to just be very understanding of why things are taking as long as they're taking, and that they're doing the best they can to make sure that people do go back to their families, be it alive or even they may have lost their lives. Ian, we're going to leave it there with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on eNCA this afternoon. That is Ian Scher, who, of course, who is the Rescue South Africa Chief Executive Officer. We did also have our senior reporter coming to us from Antakya in Turkey, that is Desin Tathia.